Hello, I'm Chad Larsen.
And I'm Barry Berg.
Welcome to Setting the Standard, Conversations with the Berg Larsen Group, a podcast where we discuss questions that are top of mind for upper bracket home buyers and sellers in the Twin Cities metro. Welcome. Today we're talking about it's showtime, what buyers and sellers need to know about showings.
Indeed. And let's start with sellers. We've probably spent time with you now, helping you prepare your home for the market. And so now we're ready to begin that whole process. One of the things that we like to do with many properties, and sometimes it's seasonal, is to put them into the multiple listing service, the MLS, put them into the MLS under a status known as coming soon. And so that is our way of helping to build interest in your property. Mm-hmm. And typically when we do that, that means that nobody can see the house until the date certain that we've identified. And that's usually 5 days, 7 days down the road. But it can help to build activity and interest in your property.
I think that's really important, right? Because by having it in the multiple listing service, having the photographs, the description information, perhaps there's a video or other kinds of tours. And so now buyers are getting those signals into their emails and other media platforms, and they're going to take a look at that property and they're going to get excited about coming to see it. So they can start to set up showings, and that's how, as a seller, you can start to gauge interest and whether your property is really clicking with the marketplace.
Well, and bear in mind, we're trying to take advantage of all those strategies and tools that will help get you the best result as expeditiously as possible. And that brings up something that we often get asked by homeowners. Well, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we could sell our home quietly? And I guess what I would say is that while we have a very good handle on who is probably out there looking for property in your neighborhood and in a given price range, we don't know everybody. And if we're truly trying to act in your best interest, 90% of the time, we're going to recommend that we go live to the MLS, especially if you have now spent the time over the last few weeks doing everything you can to prepare that house for the market.
Agreed. So let's also talk a little bit about preparing that home for the showings, right? Because we've talked before about prepping your home for the market, and that feels like a little more months, weeks, more than a few months maybe, but before. But now we're down to that nitty gritty, right? We're days away. We've either just had photographs, or now the people are about to come through the door. And that's where I think there's always a few things that sellers can do.
Yes. Well, and actually, in that vein, while there are critical things to do, make sure your lights are on. Buyers are probably going through other properties, and I have never met anyone who wants to buy a cave. So do everything you can. Open your window blinds, open your window treatments. Put away your dishes, make your beds. And I think corollary to that is go out of your way to accommodate showings. If you want to get the best result for your property, don't limit the period of time or the number of hours that somebody can view your property, because we're doing everything we can to generate interest. But that might not be at the most ideal time for you. You just don't know who's on the other side of that showing request.
Well, we have clients call us, right? Yeah. Properties just come on the market. We've sent it to them. They're sending it to us, right? Hey, we're excited about it. We want to see it, they say. And so we're like, okay, let's get out and go. And if we make that showing request and it's denied for that day, the next day, that buyer might lose interest, right? There are other things to see, and they're young families, as you talked about in previous episodes, right? That these young families are busy. They've got kids in school. They've got afternoon activities, and so they don't have a lot of time to be as flexible as you might have.
Right. I mean, that's why we as agents need to be flexible to get our buyers out when we can. But in that same vein, understand, in fact, when I was relatively new to the business, I remember being in print, having been interviewed as saying my second day starts at 5 p.m. It was a way of acknowledging that there are a lot of younger professionals who don't have the freedom to come and look at your property at 10 in the morning or at 2 in the afternoon. They're not going to look at it till 6 o'clock at night or sometime thereafter. So just know that we're a team, and as a team, we're trying to give you the best possible counsel, but make your home available.
Well, the team is us, Barry and I, you as the seller, and likewise with the buyer, right? Because for that very same reason, we've had buyers say, gee, I saw this property and it's not so good to go see it today, and it might be a Monday, and then they say, hey, how about Saturday? And I'm like, no, we need to go see this property before Saturday because good properties sell. And if you want to get in and you want that opportunity, you need to go right then.
Right. The other thing, we would say is put yourself in the shoes of a prospective buyer. You want to do what you can to help someone else fall in love with a home that you have owned all this time. That means, let's use winter as an example. We get a lot of sub-zero days. We get a lot of cold temperatures. I know you don't want to spend undue money on heating your property, but you don't want that house to be so cold that someone doesn't want to take their coat off and doesn't want and can't wait to get out of the house. You need to do what you can. Likewise, and winter is just an example, but make sure your sidewalks get shoveled. Make sure your driveway, if it's something that somebody's likely to park in, is plowed. Really important to make the access to the property as friendly as possible.
Absolutely. And we talked about lighting, and that reminds me that how many times have we gone into a property, especially these days, right? We've kind of gone from incandescent to compact fluorescent to LEDs, and you walk into the bathroom and the 5 light vanity, and they each have a different color light, and so. Well,
not the best presentation.
Not the best presentation. So 2700 Kelvin, warm light, or at least something consistent, and hopefully not daylight, because we don't have daylight in houses, only through the windows.
Right.
So yeah, try to help the buyer see your house in the best light possible.
Yeah, very important to do so. I mean, in that same vein, I just referred to winter, but we have plenty of months that aren't winter, even though that seems like the dominant season in the Twin Cities, that and road construction. But what I would acknowledge is make sure your yard shows well. That means you may need to trim your bushes. You may need to do a variety of things just to help make sure that presents itself well, and clean your windows so that somebody can see out of them without too much difficulty.
Speaking of cleaning, cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say, it seems, and real estate and in home showings, likewise. So the cleaner your house can be, the better. But also recognizing, right, that you have to live there. So when you're getting ready for a showing, you can have boxes of that things around. So if you have toys, things like that, you can put them away, and so plan to make it easy for yourself when there's a showing. But I think in the end, when there's a showing, try to accommodate it, because a buyer can't buy it if they can't see it.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.